Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for watching us once again. And I want to take this opportunity to wish you Happy New Year. I think this is the second week of 2026. How has your 2026 been so far? You can put it in the comment section as we talk. I think most of us have started on a good note. Some are still on break. Some are still have started the grinding again. Would like to know how your 2026 has been so far. So this is our first episode for this year, and I welcome you once again. If you are joining us, I want to know where you are, your name, and where you are joining us from. Kindly put it in the comment section so that we acknowledge you. So I'll go straight to the topic. So today we are talking about leading self before others. And we know that in this fast-paced world, leadership is often associated with guiding teams, driving results, and influencing others. But here is the truth. Before we can effectively lead others, we must first learn to lead ourselves. We can say that self-leadership is the foundation upon which all great leadership is built. And to help us do this discussion, we have a wonderful person with us in the person of Mr. Hussein Edward Abugri, who is an engineer, lawyer, and HR practitioner and management consultant who holds a BSec degree in medical engineering from KNUST, an MSec degree in engineering, management, and intermediate management development program obtained from the universities of Witwatersrand and Cape Town in South Africa, respectively. He also qualified as barrister solicitor after successfully graduating from the Faculty of Law in KNUST and the Ghana School of Law, and was called to the bar in October 2010. Mr. Hussein started his working life in the then Anglo Gold Ashanti Goldfields Company Limited, which is now Anglo Gold Ashanti, as an official learner before being sponsored to KNUST, and upon completion worked in various engineering departments and the human resource department, rising to become head of administration and deputy managing director at the Obuasi mine. He also worked in Zimbabwe and South Africa during his period at AGA. He joined Newmont Ghana Gold Limited in 2015 and was the head of labor relations for the Africa region based in Accra until December 2022, when he was assigned to Suriname in South America for 2.5 years as an HR advisor. Mr. Hussein is currently working as a private legal practitioner with Blackwood and Co. And he is also a management consultant with Fuzzy 1963 Consult. Mr. Hussein is a member of the Ghana Bar Association, a certified senior professional in human resource with the Human Resource Certification Institute of the US of A member of the Center for International Mediators and Arbitrators from England and Wales, a mediator and arbitrator with the National Labour Commission of Ghana, and member of the Society of Human Resource Management, USA, and Ghana Institute of Engineers. So before Mr. Hussein comes on, I'd like to give you a quote from John C. Maxwell, which says, "You must lead yourself before you can lead others." So Mr. Hussein will join us now. He will do a presentation. Then if you have any question, you put it in the comment section and we will answer it for you. Mr. Hussein, good evening.
Hey, Marcelo, how are you?
Welcome and Happy New Year to you.
many happy returns and many
How has
happy.
your 2026 been so far?
Oh, it's been good so far. So we hope that the year will continue on this note. Thank you.
So far, so good.
Yes.
Yes, yes. So, as I said before, we are doing leading yourself before leading others. So, please, you can take over.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't know how many people have you got online. How many have you got online so far?
Hello, Mr. Hussein, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello.
Hello.
Are you hearing me? Oh.
Hello,
Hello.
sir.
Yes. I was just saying good afternoon and once again, Happy New Year to all of you, wherever you are joining from.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to meet you. Yes, Marcelina.
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Are you hearing me?
All right.
Hello? Hello? Are you hearing me? Oh, no. Hello?
Please, I'll check for it. I'll check and get
Okay.
back.
Okay, please do. What is going on?
Good.
Hello?
Hello, sir. Your line is breaking.
My line is breaking.
Hello.
Oh, I put up the. Are you saying my line is breaking? Hello?
Viewers, please hold on as we.
Hello, Mr. Bugri. Please, you can go ahead. Your line is clear.
It's now clear. All right. Good afternoon. And once
Yes,
again,
please.
Happy New Year to all of you, wherever you are joining from. It's a pleasure to have this opportunity to interact on a very important topic of self leadership. Um, I believe that at the end of the day, we are going to walk out of this place better informed than we came in. So, if you have any questions as you go along, you can raise them. Or if there's any issue, let me know so that I can see what I can do. All right. So I have a small presentation. I'll go through quickly the presentation and then we can then have the discussions. But before I start, I want to just say that anybody who has anybody here who has read Daniel Goleman's book on emotional intelligence. Somebody saying there is a delay. Oh no, there is a delay. There is a delay. Okay. All right. I hope they'll be able to fix it. But what I'm trying to say is that if you have read, any of you here who has read Daniel Goleman's book on emotional intelligence will know that there are 5 thematic areas of emotional intelligence. And the first one is self awareness, we have self regulation, we have let me just we have self awareness, self regulation, internal motivation, empathy or social awareness, and then relationship management. So basically, these 5 thematic areas tend to summarize um, what we call emotional intelligence. And as human beings, we tend to have several forms of intelligence. We have the emotional intelligence, we have social intelligence, we have the cognitive intelligence, which has to do with being able to solve problems. And then we also have other forms of intelligence. But for today, we are just trying to look at self-leadership, how we manage ourselves, because if you consider management or leadership to be a vehicle, then self-leadership is the engine of the vehicle. Without the self-leadership, the vehicle will be not going to wherever it wants to get to, because the leader must manage him or herself first before you can manage others. And that's why it's important that we look at self-management before moving on to leadership of the team. Now, since we don't have, so we'll look at the content. So we'll look at the self-leadership diagnostic survey. We'll look at introduction, the core competencies, strategic actions, resilience and accountability, call to action. And then I wanted to start this in with a self-leadership diagnostic tool where I'll let people do this exercise quickly, but I don't know whether we have the time to do that. But it will be very important that we do that to understand where we are in the leadership or the self-leadership continuum. So the first one, those online, if you can just do this quickly for me. So the part one is self-awareness. And the self-awareness we are looking at, you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5 for each situation or for each statement. So 1 means I never or strongly disagree, strongly or never, strongly disagree, and then 2, 3, 4, and then 5 is the highest, always or strongly agree. So the first one is I can accurately name the emotion I'm feeling right while I'm feeling it. So you put either a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you agree with that statement. If you agree strongly or you always agree with that, you put a 5. If you think that no, I strongly disagree, or it is never, then you put 1, or you put 2, 3, or 4, or 5, depending upon your level of agreement with the statement. And then I'm clear on my top 3 core values: integrity, group, family. These are just examples, but there are other values that you can. So the important thing is being clear on your top 3 core values. What do you give between 1 to 5? And then I recognize the physical signs of stress before I lose my temper or focus. So do that quickly, and then we'll move to the next slide. Okay, next slide. Now the next slide has to do with self-regulation. When things go wrong, I focus on solutions rather than looking for someone to blame. The second one is I can say no to distractions or requests that don't align with my priorities. And then 3, I maintain a consistent level of productivity even when I don't feel motivated. So in the boxes on your own, you just put your values there, 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5. And then we'll go to the last part 3, which is self-efficacy and goal setting. The first one is I set identity-based goals, who I want to be, rather than just task-based goals. And then I keep the macro. I keep the macro promises I make to myself, and I view setbacks as data points for learning rather than personal failures. So what I want you to do now, after having given yourself ratings on all listen, I want you to total your total marks. So, and let's see what your score is. So I just give people at least 3 minutes to do the scoring. So we see. If you have your score, just put your total score on the screen in the chat box. Anybody with a score? Total score? Anybody with a total score? I'm not seeing any score on the screen yet, or this chat box. Okay. All right. So let's move on. So we'll go to the scoring and then the interpretation. So if anybody got between 10 and 20, then we say the person is in the passenger phase. So you might feel like life is happening to you. So life is you are like a passenger in the vehicle. That is what basically it means. And then if you score between 21 to 35, you are in what we call the manager phase. You are good at the doing, but might feel burned out. So it means that you are managing to do the task at your disposal, but you might not be on a sustainable path. And then the last one is if you score between 36 and 45, then you are what we call the self-leader. You are in the self-leader phase. So it means that you are more or less actually practicing what we call self-leadership. And therefore, we say you are the chief executive of your own life. Okay, you are the chief executive of your own life. You are the chief executive of your own life. And for such a person, your next step is to be mentoring people, to be sharing those self-leadership skills with the people that you work with. Any question, comment? All right. Then let's move on to what self-leadership is all about. So having done the exercise, we know that there are three types of leaders: the passenger, the manager, and the self-leader. So what is self-leadership? Self-leadership is intentionally influencing your thinking, your feeling, and behaviors. Your programs. Yeah. Sorry. So intentionally influencing your thinking, your feeling, and your behaviors to achieve your objectives. Okay. So basically that is the simple definition of what self-leadership is all about. Trying to influence, doing it intentionally, your thinking, your feeling, and then your behaviors. And all that is aimed towards achieving your objectives. Next slide. Then we talk about the three pillars of self-leadership. The first one is self-awareness. This is what we call the internal GPS. It involves recognizing your emotional state in real time and understanding your why. Your why is your purpose. Okay. Understanding your operating system, the default way you act when you are stressed. And the second pillar is self-regulation. And this is the steering wheel. It is the ability to pause between a stimulus and your response. So somebody says something to you, and then there are several ways of responding to that stimulus. You either respond immediately, or you decide to pause, reflect before you react. Okay. So then the third one is self-efficacy. This is the engine. It is the belief that you have the agency to change your circumstances. Without this self-leadership feels like a chore rather than a choice. So basically, the self-leadership base is based on three pillars: the self-awareness, self-regulation, and self-efficacy. And then we move to the next slide. And then what are the core competencies? That is the mindset that is required as a self-leader. So we say the 8 C's of self-leadership. The first one is calmness, remaining focused even in chaos, even in uncertainty. you are calm and in control of yourself. Then the second C is curiosity, always asking, why is this happening? And then clarity, seeing the bigger picture. And the fourth C is compassion, having concern for others. And the fifth one is confidence, which is self-assurance, or having a positive self-belief, or belief on others' trustworthiness. And then the sixth one is courage, having the mental and moral strength to face challenges. And creativity, use of imagination to create something that is totally new. And then connectedness, belonging to some larger body or group or entity, or having a close relationship with others. So self-leadership requires that you have these 8 competencies, which you call the 8 C's of self-leadership. Then we come to constructive thought patterns. Self-talk, identifying and reframing the inner critic. So we all have an inner voice that always prompts us when we are trying to do something untoward. That inner critic that is always telling you that, look, take a pause, do that. And then mental imagery, visualizing successful performance before it happens, being able to visualize the long-term outcome. And then examining beliefs, challenging dysfunctional assumptions that hold you back. Okay. Then what are the skill sets, or what we call the strategic action? The first one is behavior-focused strategies. First is self-observation, tracking how you actually spend your time versus your priorities. And then self-goal setting, moving beyond SMART goals to identity-based goals. So identity-based goals does not look at what you want to do, but who you want to become or who you need to become. So that. Then the third one is the self-reward, creating small, immediate incentives for difficult tasks to build momentum. And then the natural reward strategies, finding ways to play or to have build play or purpose into finding ways to build play or purpose into mundane tasks to make them inherently motivating. Then we talk about resilience and accountability. The accountability gap is trying to identify the why we keep promises to others, but we break them to ourselves. As individuals, we are good at making promises to others and striving to make sure that we honor those promises. But when we come to ourselves, we make promises to ourselves and we violate those promises or break those promises with careless abandon because we think that, oh, I don't owe any explanation to anybody. But to be a self-leader, you need to make sure that whatever promises that you make to yourself, you are able to fulfill them, because that is the cornerstone. If you can keep your promises to yourself, the promises that you make yourself, and you're able to keep them, then you can then perfect the keeping the promise to others. And then navigating failure, seeing failure as not something that is supposed to be a complete setback, but something that is supposed to help you develop a growth mindset, that is pick up from the pieces and build yourself for a successful future. What is the conclusion and the call to action? We said self-leadership is an act of service. When you are organized, calm, and purposeful, you provide a safety net for everyone around you. You create a psychological safety net for the people around you. You lead by infection, not just by direction. And then the 1 hour rule. Always spending the first hour of your day leading yourself. Leading yourself means that sitting back, meditating, planning, doing a deep reflection of a deep reflection of your work before you let the world lead you. So it's important that as leaders, at the beginning of every day, we spend about an hour trying to lead ourselves first before the world starts interacting with us. And that is used to plan the day ahead, meditate, and then before you then start your full day's activities. We say that when you lead yourself better, naturally makes you a more credible leader of others. If you are leading yourself better, you naturally make yourself a credible leader. Then identify one habit or thought pattern you will change starting tomorrow. And then the closing quote I leave with you is mastering others is a strength. Mastering yourself is true power. Lao Tzu, a Chinese strategic philosopher. On that note, I want to just share with you my personal self-leadership tool that I've developed. So on the inner circle, I have my core values, which are integrity, honesty, humility, and selflessness. These are my core values that guide me in my entire career. Then what is my personal brand? My personal brand is to be a compassionate human being who cares for others without compromising my values. And what is my individual purpose in life? My individual purpose is to add value to the life of any person around me. And what is my contribution? My contribution, making everyone around me feeling trusted with clear expectations of accountability. And then, how do I influence? I influence by connecting with everyone in a positive way, where I listen carefully and appreciate diversity of opinion. So this is my personal self-management tool that I use in my career, and I thought that I should just share it with you, and maybe you can pick one or two things from it and also build upon that. So on that note, I'll bring the presentation to an end, and then if there are any questions, any discussions, then we can then take them on board. Thank you for your kind attention.
So please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Are you hearing me?
Hello?
Hello? Oh,
Can you hear
hello?
me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. All right. So I know you spoke about this, the importance of self leadership on how critical leading yourself affects overall leadership success. Can you elaborate more on that?
The question
How
again.
leading self is critical to general overall leadership success.
Okay. Okay. So thanks for the question. That's a good question. So, like I said, leading yourself is about being the primary architect of your own character, your actions, and growth. So, and leading yourself basically means intentionally influencing your thinking, your feeling, and behaviors to achieve your goals and objectives, like I said. And I also explained that it is the engine of the vehicle of leadership. If leadership is the vehicle, then the engine is self-leadership. Because when you have self-leadership, that is when you can then move the vehicle of leadership, or you can lead others. And self-awareness or self-regulation, as we say, builds trust. Okay, builds trust among your team. It prevents emotional what we call emotional contagion, where whatever the leader's emotion gets reflected in the followers' emotions, and also enables better decision when you have your values always guiding you in your decision making on day-to-day basis. And then it builds power resilience. You are able to recover from whatever situation you find yourself in. So basically, these are the key takeaways from leading yourself, how critical it is to leadership. Thank you. Hello.
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 Thank you very much. Please, hello.
Yes. Is there a
Okay.
time delay
All right.
when I speak? Is there a time delay?
No, please.
Okay. That's why I put off the video, thinking that it will improve, because I don't know whether the video was also interrupting with the flow. Okay.
Okay. So, what are some of the practices or habits that we can do to improve self-awareness? As you spoke earlier, you said those are three components. You spoke of three components of self leadership, and one was
Yes.
self-awareness.
Yes.
What are some of the daily habits you can use to develop it, self-awareness?
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine. So, first and foremost is to be able to identify what your values or your key three values are. And I demonstrated with my own this in where I showed that I have four values, but for the sake of this discussion, let's say three of them are integrity, um, humility, honesty. So, first of all, have identify your values. Those are the non-negotiables that will always guide your day-to-day decision making. The next one is to do what we call an inward reflection. What do you think of yourself? Sitting back and thinking of yourself. So one thing is to ask yourself, if you were reporting to yourself as a leader, if you ask yourself this question, if I was reporting to myself, what would I not like about you? Okay. So assume that you are looking into the mirror, you see yourself in the mirror, and assuming that that is your leader, and you ask yourself, what is it in this my leader that I would not want to perpetuate, or what behaviors or actions wouldn't I want to continue to exhibit? That's what we call the inward reflection. And then the third one is the outward feedback, getting feedback from people outside of you, being able to give you an objective assessment of how they see you and how what are some of the challenges that you have that you need to address on. So if I summarize it, determining your values, doing your inward reflection, and also having somebody give you a very positive and objective feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So, as you were doing the presentation, I was thinking, self leadership. Maybe you are a leader already in an organization or something.
Yes.
Can self leadership and external leadership run concurrently? Like all the two are going together. Is it possible that you are leading others and you are still trying to self lead, or you do the self lead before you do external leadership?
Okay. So it's like you need to always have your you need to always do the self leadership first before you can lead others. You cannot lead others before you self lead. So the first step is to self lead, and when you after you've done your self leadership, then you can lead others. And then in leading others, there will always be an opportunity to go back. It becomes like a loop, a closed loop. So during your course of interaction with your team members, certain issues will come up, and you need to step back, reflect. How did I handle this situation before my team members? If I were given the opportunity, will I do the same thing and try to make sure that you change your style the next time. That is part of the continuous improvement loop. So you start with self-leadership, you lead others, and then through that leadership process, you learn things that you use to improve yourself again as part of your self-leadership development, and then you go back. So it becomes a loop that continues. Thank you.
Thank you too. Ms. Abuki, there's the situation where a leader didn't have the knowledge of self-leadership before
Yes.
he entered leadership, external leadership.
Yes.
What can that person also? Then he just came to realize that no, I need to self-lead, but he's
Yes.
in the external role already. Where does he start
Yes.
from?
Okay. So some of us, in fact, if I use my own experience, I started leadership roles without any self-leadership. Like, engineers, we do when you are doing engineering, or those days we were doing engineering, there wasn't anything like leadership training of any of that sort. So you finish university, you come out, you are a graduate, they appoint you as a supervisor, they put you in charge of people that you are supposed to be leading. No leadership experience. You don't even know how to manage yourself, you don't know how to manage people. So in that case, then in my experience, what happened was that I had a moment where one of my team members came into my office one day and had a very frank conversation with me and gave me an objective feedback as to how I was leading the team and some of the areas that I needed improvement. And then I had to pick it from there and start looking for um, development opportunities, going for leadership development programs, finding mentors, talking to people who have been in the field for so many years and they had the experience, and then to provide me with guidance on how to manage the. So I learned it the hard way. That for like what you are just saying, I learned it that way. I didn't go having somebody giving you that self leadership development opportunities before you move into leading others. I was thrown into the leadership role. I made mistakes. People picked those mistakes, came to me, pointed them out to me, and then I had to listen and listen attentively, took those feedbacks in good faith, and decided that yes, there was the need to change. And therefore, I then sought help and then I improved. So it's not all the time that you have the self-leadership development first before you lead others. But
Opportunity.
ideal situation would have been the self-leadership before leading others. But unfortunately, you are not in an ideal world. So you always can start from leading others, and then you can reflect, you can come back and then develop the skills and go back again, and then becomes a continuous improvement cycle that you have. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. So on the issue of feedback,
Yes.
how do we I want to talk about feedback for self-leadership.
Yes.
How do we do that one?
So now, if I can understand your question, if you can make it a bit clearer.
So you are leading yourself,
Yes.
but sometimes you don't know what you are doing. You feel you are doing the right thing.
Yes.
How do you get feedback for your self-leadership so that you know that you're on the right track?
Okay. All right. That's a good question, and thank you very much. So feedback is an essential ingredient of self-leadership, because even though you may try to do your self-reflection, we tend to have certain biases and all those things that, or what we call blind spots. We call it industrial blindness. Like you don't tend to see the things. They say there's a saying that the eye that can see many things cannot see itself. So you can only see yourself, or you can only see your eyes in the mirror. You can, when you look in the mirror, that you can see your eye, but you cannot see your eye, even though the eye sees all other things. So it's always important that you listen to feedback, and the feedback comes from two sources: your own internal feedback and then the external feedback from others. And it's always better to have what we call a trusted confidant, or somebody who we call an accountability partner, somebody who will observe you, the way you behave, the way you provide leadership in meetings or whatever, and give you an objective assessment. And that is the first aspect. And the second aspect is that you being willing and able to listen, take the feedback, and work on it to improve yourself. Okay, so if you can do that, then you go a long way to improving your self leadership skills, because the external feedback is more or less like the benchmark against which you need to improve. We always need some external benchmark to be able to improve. So you benchmark your current reality against what the benchmark is, and then you find that there's a gap, and then you then take steps to address that gap so that you become a better leader. And that is where feedback comes in. Feedback helps you to reflect, to adjust, and then you can repeat that loop to make sure that you growing in your day-to-day activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. How does self-leadership prepare leaders for navigating uncertainty and change?
If can you repeat the question?
How self-leadership prepare leaders for navigating uncertainty and change?
Oh, okay, that's fine. So, as leaders, both on self-leadership and then team leadership, we operate in a world of uncertainty. We call it the VUCA: volatility, uncertainty, chaos, and ambiguity. The world is not constant. The world is subject to changes. A lot of things are going to happen, and we have no control over that. So, as self-leaders, once you develop that self-leadership skills, you build your emotional, we call them emotional buffers. Emotional buffers are things that help you to control yourself during uncertainties, period of uncertainties. When there's a change that is totally out of control, you are able to sit down and then reflect and distinguish between what is it that I can control in this external change that is coming on us. What is it that I can control and what is it that I cannot control? And then you focus your energies on the things that you can control to be able to what? Navigate the change. And then the things that you cannot control, they are out of your locus of control. We call them the external locus of control. It's something outside of your control. So there's no need to spend energy or your emotions trying to address issues that are totally not within your control, but rather identify what you can do within your locus of control to be able to build the necessary buffers to be able to survive in that uncertainty or the change that is coming. And also you are able to build self-control to be able to respond to the external environment. So you ask yourself, what is the one thing that I can influence right now within this uncertainty or the change that is coming? Then you also move from a reactive fighter to a proactive navigator. So you are able to proactively navigate any situation or any uncertainty that is coming because you have built that capability, being able to discern what is something that you can control and what is something that you cannot control. And also it improves your decision-making clarity. You are able to make decisions with clarity because you always have the bigger picture in mind. And therefore, with the bigger picture, you know, if I do this, this how it's going to impact that. And therefore, you know where to focus your energies on to be able to deliver the objectives. And you always make sure that you stay close to your values. Staying close to your values. so that it's very easy for people to depart from their values when they are confronted with changes that are overwhelming. Okay, but a self-leader is able to sit back, reflect, and say, how will I be able to do this thing and still uphold my values without compromising my values? And using that as a guide, you always look for solutions that are compliant with the laws, with the company policies and procedures, and therefore you never go outside of the boundaries that have been set. All right, thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bugi, for your submission. I would like to acknowledge Zachariah Salamat, sorry, who has joined us from Kumasi. Salamat, you're welcome. I hope you are enjoying the sessions. You can kindly put in your questions if you have any, so that we'll address it for you. I'll also like you to know that say that brings you a lot of wonderful things. And we'd like you to anticipate this year's SEDAT Asia Conference 2026 Takrade edition. That will be happening on the 26th of March. So we are at the Western Serene Atlantic Hotel. We'd like you to anticipate it. If you need any HR issues, you have any HR issues of recruitment, training and development, outsourcing, you can contact SEDAT Consult for all these services. We have a few minutes to go, so we'd like to go back to Mr. Abugui for our final questions, so that we're out of here very soon.
Okay.
Thank you also for staying with us up till this time. Please let the questions flow. If you have any question, put it in. Mr. Abugui.
Yes, I'm listening. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello. I'm listening.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, can you tell us what are some of the common mistakes leaders make when they skip self-leadership?
Okay. Thanks. Okay. So the mistakes is like we say that it's like building a house without a foundation. If you skip self-leadership, it's like building a house without a foundation. So you focus on managing others without an internal operating system. So the self-management is the internal operating system that is supposed to be the engine of the vehicle of leadership. So if you do that, then you create what we call an emotional volatile environment. What do we mean by that? We mean that the environment becomes like a reflection of the emotions that the leader has. So the leader's emotion gets reflected in the team environment. So if I get up in a day and let's say I'm so angry, and then I come into the office and then anything that happens, I take my anger out on my people. Then that anger gets spread in the whole department or organization or section or whatever we find the working environment, and it creates the whole environment becomes the environment that the leader is projecting into the workplace. So it also creates an inconsistency. Now, if a leader hasn't got self-leadership skills, the tendency is to promise to say one thing and do another. So we say that there's a gap between the intent of what we want to do and then what is actually happening. So, for instance, you are a leader, you don't have self-leadership skills. You tell people that, oh, everybody must be in the office at 8 o'clock, but you keep on coming to work 8:30 every day. What it means is that your team members are going to see through the credibility gap that you are bringing. Okay, so that is one area. The say-do gap, setting high standards for others whilst exempting yourself, and then decisions are based on your ego, not on what is the value-based. Your decisions will be based on your ego. So you bring your ego to the work, and everything that you do is driven by your ego, but not driven by the bigger picture. And then the leader now even becomes a bottleneck. You, the leader, you become a bottleneck instead of advancing or being an enabler for the team to perform. Okay, so the one of the commonest mistake, like I said, is building a house without a foundation, and that house is bound to collapse. It's only a matter of time. So the foundation is the self-leadership, and then the house is the team that you are going to lead, and therefore you need to have the self-leadership. And some people say that you cannot build a house on a weak foundation. All right. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Abugri. We've got 7 minutes to go. Can you give us your final words so that we wrap up?
Okay. So thank you, Marcelina. I think that as leaders, we do not know everything. We don't have all the answers. So a good leader should first of all seek to manage self first, seek to lead self first. And how do you do that? By becoming self-aware, knowing what triggers you, what are some of the stresses that impact you negatively. Then have what we call self-regulation before you react to any situation or you respond to any stimuli. Have a pause, have a deep reflection before you pause, and then build that self-accountability. Take accountability for all your actions. Own up to your actions. Be like a thermostat, not a thermometer. A thermometer just reflects the temperature in the area, but a thermostat is able to regulate the temperature in the environment so that if the temperature is becoming too high, the thermostat will bring the temperature down by switching off whatever is providing or switching on the cooling device. What I will leave everybody with is that as a leader, be a thermostat and not a thermometer. And the thermostat, like I explained, creates an enabling environment for people to grow, to learn, to reach their full potential. Whereas a thermometer just measures the temperature and does nothing about it. Okay? That is telling you that this is the state of environment. But a thermostat creates the enabling environment, makes the conditions very conducive for people to work together and grow. And lastly, we should learn to take ownership of our mistakes as leaders. We should own up. We should trust our team members. We should delegate more and be able to focus on the strategic issues so that we can move the organization to a higher height. Thank you very much. And God bless all of you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bugri. I've enjoyed your session. It's very insightful. Thank you
Thank you.
for joining us and sharing this important topic with us on leading ourselves before leading others. We appreciate you very much. And I want
Thank
to
you.
say a big thank you to all who participated today. Once again, I come to you reminding you about the SEDAT conference, which is coming on the 26th March 2016 at Takrady. This is the Takrady edition, and the theme is Authentic Employer Branding, Purpose, People, and Public Trust. Apart from this, you can contact SEDAT on sedatconsultlimited.com for all your HR issues. You can also reach out to SEDAT on 055 088 3936. So for our takeaway, we can say that one thing that we can remember is that leadership starts from within. If we don't, when we master self-awareness, self-management, and purpose, we create a strong foundation.
Hello.
We create a strong foundation. Hello.
Okay. You
Please, can you
dropped off.
hear me?
Yes, you dropped off briefly.
We create we create a strong foundation to inspire and lead others effectively. I think I mentioned the conference is on 2020 is in 20 sorry, it's in 2026, please. 26 March 2026, happening at the Westin Serene Atlantic Hotel, Takrady, on the topic Authentic Employer Branding, Purpose, People, and Public Trust. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again next week. Bye.
Bye.